Now you can start.
Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome to Renate's farm. I am Renate Zach from Austria, and my husband Ernst and I, we're very glad and we're excited and honored to welcome Anjii Bryers today to our Zoom. Anjii Bryers from Australia, so right from the other
New
side.
Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand, but now you live in Australia, in Canberra.
Oh, sorry. You said we're inviting Anjii Bryers.
Anjii Bryers, sorry.
Yeah. That's right. It's because we have my sister Jenny Renate here, so yeah. Hence the confusion. And Jenny's in New Zealand, so she's joining us tonight.
And I'm also waiting for another participant on the Zoom. This is Jenny Small from South Africa. So she also wanted to join. So yeah, I can easily get confused with the names. So anyway, I'm really happy that we have this call tonight. For you tonight, for us it's noon. Anjii and I, we met in summer 2019. And this was really a lucky coincidence, but of course, I do not believe in coincidences. And to me, this encounter was really guided and had to be. And Anjii was visiting her brother in Austria, and I had the chance to give them a tour through Vienna. And then Anjii said, well, I have to come and see you on your farm. I have to do this. And of course, I was very happy and excited that she wanted to visit me. But I had no idea what will happen on that day. And so I think we will talk about this later, but this was really life-changing for us, not only for me, but for our farm and for my work and for my animals. And yeah, and now I'm really grateful that we can do this chat tonight, and that Anjii, you will talk about animal communication today. And you are a clinical hypnotherapist and a trauma relief therapist and a Reiki Sage Master and a death doula, and yeah, and many things more. And yeah, but today we will talk about the animal communication. So welcome, Anjii, to our talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Look, I don't know how many of you have watched any of my content or know much about me. Have you, Manuela and Carolyn, have you ever seen any of the content that's there about me, or? No, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay, so then my first question to you, yeah, we have thought about a couple of questions we want to talk about, and I will start with some questions on Anjii herself. And so my first question would be, are you a psychic or a medium? Is that how you can communicate with animals?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, I don't consider myself a psychic or a medium, and I believe that my communication with animals is something that we can all do, and it's nothing special. It's something that we all do all the time. The only difference is that when we connect into that, like learning a piano song, we begin to hear more, and then when we strip away our dramas in life, we become clearer. And we can hear much, much better. But a lot of people do ask me if I'm a medium because of the messages that I get. But I get messages, not on, if someone says to me, hey, can you do a session with me and tell me if I've been, Cleopatra in a past life and how many past lives I've had, I can't do that. But what I can do is when I'm working with a horse or a person, when I'm connected in with them, I can see things and hear things that they need to know. So, you know, I can feel things. So I'll feel, you know, what's wrong with the horse or with the dog or a person, and I've learned to voice that. And so learning about communicating with people or humans, it's really just a matter of being able to stand inside yourself and just putting everything else aside and standing there. It's almost like in prayer, and it's just standing there and being, and then you'll begin to hear things or feel things or you know, things like that. So I see a lot, and if I wanted to explain what it's like to do this, you know, what you see, a really good way to do that is that if you all just clear your mind now, if you just clear your mind, and now I want you to imagine a nice hot pie, meat pie, right? You can kind of see it in your mind, right? You get a sense of yummy, you know, the best meat pie ever, and so that's how you see when you're doing this. It's not like the movies where, you know, there's someone standing next to you, or you can, you know, see inside the body of the horse or things like that. But it's almost like you can see it, it's there, but it's not actually visual. Does that make sense to you all? Yeah, cool.
Yes,
So that's
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So that's how you see things. And when you hear things, you'll often hear, you know, I can hear a horse, and I'm standing there and I'm being shown the visual of this horse, and this horse thought it was getting its head chopped off. And that's the message he gave me, which, as you can imagine, was very hard to give to his trainer, who thought I was crazy. But when I stood in front of this horse, who was a very angry horse, and he was standing at the back of his stable, and he was biting, and he wasn't eating properly, and he wasn't running properly. He was a racehorse, and he was what's called a sour horse. And he was pretty much on his last chance before being, you know, put down. And you know, standing there with him, you know, I could see, like you see the pie, I could see, you know, a horse's body there, and the head and neck there, and then a tree on the hill, and it was just there. And what I could feel inside me was, you know, if you imagine the feeling of, so imagine now in your mind, holding your little baby in your arms, you know, when it was newborn. And you can feel those feelings, right? Like they're not solid like it's here now, but you retain those feelings. So that's how you feel these feelings. You get a sense of that. I could feel the terror of this horse. Okay, so that's my visual. That's the feeling I get.
That's not only hearing and seeing, but also feeling. You feel it within your body.
Yeah. So I could feel that terror. And then what I could hear in my head, all I sort of kept hearing repeating. So it's like, you know, if you think back now to, I want you to imagine now your mother calling you in for dinner. You can hear it somewhere in your mind, but it's not, you know, your mum yelling at you for dinner. But I could hear, I'm sorry. So I have hearing that. I have the sensation inside me of just sheer terror, and I see the vision of the horse. So that's my way of explaining it to people, that it's, you know, it's not like on the movies. And what people find, you know, it's like when Renate was doing her training, you know, she couldn't trust herself, right? She's like, oh, I don't know if I'm seeing or I'm not seeing. But once you understand that it's on a different level, and it's exactly what it is, then it's like, oh yeah, that's what I'm seeing, but I just wasn't trusting it because it wasn't like the movies. But that's exactly what it's like. And you know, I was right about that horse. the racing trainer, excuse me, man. The racing trainer when I told him that about that horse, he just dismissed me, said, thank you, went back to his thing. And I went back, you know, at the end of that day to work with the horses again. And he was there, and they finished work at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And he was still there at 8 o'clock that night in the darkness. And I was terrified. I thought, oh, he thinks I'm crazy. He's going to ask me for the keys to the racecourse back. And, you know, and I went in there, and he was sitting there, you know, reading his paper and having a beer. And he said, have a beer with me, Anjii. And I said, no, I'm good. No, you know, I was waiting for the blast from him. And he said, no, have a beer. And so I had a beer, and he said he wanted to sort of, you know, hold me out a bit because he knew that I was freaking out. And he said to me, so the first horse that I told him about that day was, I said, her over there, she's saying she gets sore feet. And he took his glasses off and he went, sore feet, Anjii, you know they're called hooves, don't you? And I said, yes, I know that, but I have to relay it exactly the way it's given, or it can be, you know, misconstrued, or I can miss the point. And he said, righto. And I said, yeah. So
may I ask in between? So you have to give the message exactly as the horse tells you to pass it on. And you may not change anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I've found in the past, and even with people, I've found in the past that if you sort of try and make it more subtle or something for them, you know, it can be put in the wrong place, or it can be, and then they'll say something, you're like, see, the exact message answered that, but by softening it, I've you know, I've lost
because
it.
I think that's important.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I got back that night, he said, well, first of all, he said, that horse, he said, when you left today, Anjii, he said, I thought you were an idiot. And you know, fair enough. And he said, but when she came in off the track after training this morning, he said, I've had a problem with her. And he said that, you know, racehorses, 600 kilos of racehorses have to drink like 40 liters of water a day, or things can go desperately wrong with them. And he said, and when a horse is not drinking, it's a real problem. And he said, the problem with her is that she's been pooing in her water, and no horses do that, but she's been doing that. And he said, I have to keep cleaning out the water and coming back and replacing it. It's driving me crazy. And he said, so much so that the metal bin, you know, that has the water in it, he said it's all bent from her doing this. So he said, I was sitting there laughing at you, thinking you're an idiot. And then she came in, and he said, I just thought I'd go and take a peek over her stall. And I said, I went over there, and she was in there, and she'd backed herself up to her big drinking tray, and she'd got up and put her bum on the metal edge, and she was holding a weight on it. And then she's lifting one foot up, and then she's putting that down, then she's lifting the other foot up. And he said, so Anjii had the vet out today, and you know, there is problems with her feet, and she's getting operated on tomorrow. So I was like, okay. Awesome. Yeah, phew, right, great. And then he left it for a bit, and I'm like, oh, here we go. And he said, and as for the old sour horse over there, he said, you know, at the end of the day that I talk to my horses. And I was like, yeah. And he said, I was walking down the stables at the end of training at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And he said, I'm, you know, talking to him and going, yeah, you're doing great, mate. And, you know, and her, you better race good on Saturday, because you've got, you know, some other horse that she'd been racing. He's having this little chat to them. And he said, and he comes past old sourpuss there. He said, I come past old sourpuss. And he said, I looked at him and I said, and you, mate, if you don't pick up your game, you'll be taking a little trip to Cairns, which is dog Cairns. And he said, I walked off, and I'm like, ha, 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 ha. And he said, I took 4 steps, and he said, I stopped dead in my tracks. And I realized that horse has heard my joke, not taken it as a joke, but it's understood it. And it's been more and more and more terrified, because he said that's my common joke with him, right?
Okay, so because he heard the word can, and he thought that he will be slaughtered.
Well, it's not so much he heard the words, but he got the energy of you're going to get your head chopped off because you're not racing well.
Yeah.
And so, and you know, he probably would have, but he said the horse has taken that in, and then the horse has communicated that to you, and you've come back to me and told me that that horse clearly understood me. And he said, I have been sitting here for 4 hours trying to apologize to that horse. And he said, I am, you know, the way I train horses from now on is going to change. You've taken me back to what I remembered as a child, how I used to communicate with animals. You know, he was just one with horses when he was a kid, and he'd lost that getting caught up in the business and doing the things. And you know, it was life-changing for him. And, you know, that was a great lesson for me of conveying the messages as you see them, because, you know, me seeing that with that horse, and if I'd sort of said, you know, something different and tried to make it something that sounded, I don't know, not crazy, then, you know, that horse might have lost its life in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And when was it that you first realized that you can communicate with animals? Have you been taught this, or how did this happen?
Look, I think I came into this life with this sort of innate love and connection with them. I mean, Jenny, I was talking about how Jenny and Cheryl and I, my other sister, we were talking, and they were remembering that when I was a kid, I was, you know, all sorts of animals were attracted to me, and I was a bit weird, wasn't I, Jenny? And you know, I used to go down to the race course and jump under the fences there, and I'd be brushing the race horses, and I got into trouble because the staff came out and they're running after me and going, "Get out of here, those things are crazy, what is the matter with you?" You know, and you know, there's me, I'm standing between their legs and, you know, brushing them, and I just sort of never had any fear, and I just thought it was sort of a natural thing. And, you know, when I grow up, I want to be, you know, I just want to have lots of animals, lots of broken animals. You know, broken animals were my favorite. You know, when I've got 2 rescues and they're quite pretty, and I didn't want them. I want the dogs that no one else wants. You know, I want the dog with the weird teeth and the, you know, the one ear and because that's sort of, you know, my thing. But really it's become stronger over the years. And it really wasn't until my near-death experience that, you know, I got a definitive answer of what I'll be doing and why I'm to stay here. And, you know, that was to teach people, to go out there and teach people that healing is actually really simple, that it is not this great thing that we create the need for a lot of stuff around our healing. We need the thing of, like, you know, we need to talk about it for 10 years and then we need to do this, but actually we can do it like that. And, you know, they said, look, you'll be working with animals later on, but that's what you're here to do. And it really wasn't until, I don't know, 2012 or something. And I rang my son, and my son has always done dream work as well. And, you know, he's very aware, he's grown up like this. And I rang him one morning and I said, I had a dream last night. You know, he's 30 now. And I said, I had a dream last night. And he goes, yeah. And I said, I've been told I'm going to leave emergency services. And he's like, oh, great, fantastic. I'm like, oh, okay. And he said, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm sort of going to go to Melbourne and I'm going to work with horses. And he goes, okay, what sort of horses? And I said, well, like crazy mother race horses. And he's like, okay, what are you going to do with them? And I said, well, apparently I'm going to heal them. And he's like, okay, makes sense. And I'm like, oh, but, you know, they showed me this crazy horse and like it could kill me, Zach. And he goes, but what a way to go, Mum. So I had no idea what I was going to do. I'd just been instructed, and they'd said to me, you're going to leave your job and it is now time to do what you're here to do with this. How do I do it? You'll find out when it happens, but you need to leave this work. And, you know, you can stay there as long as you want, but we will just make it worse and worse and worse until you do, because you're running out of time. It's time to go and do this stuff now.
So that means you quit your job and you followed your intuition?
I went to Melbourne and I tripped over someone with a horse, and I tripped over that, and then I tripped over some stables, and then like everything just sort of led to me standing in a stable, and there's a horse that needs me, and I'm like, I'm standing there. I still don't know what I'm supposed to do, and I'm standing there by the stable, and I'm in my head sort of going, please, dear Heavenly Father, I don't know what to do, right? You know, and I'm just like, guys, I'm here, you know, just show me what I'm meant to do. And I just opened up, and I just stood there in front of the stable, and then it just came, and I started feeling, you know, this horse's stomach was the first horse, and I'm feeling something, and I'm sort of feeling this thing in my stomach. I'm like, oh, it's got a tummy ache. And she's like, so what was with this horse is it was a show jumper, and it was very grumpy at the end of winter, right? And it was you know, they needed to get it up and running, and so I sort of stand there and going, yeah, it's got like a stomach ache. And then, you know, I sort of like saw the word staph, and I'm like, is it got staph or something? And I'm like, I don't even know if horses get staph, you know, staphylococcal. I don't even know if they get that, but it's like, she's like, no. And I'm like, okay. And then they were showing me this like a bowl, you know, in the darkness, like the pie, and in it was this like fluorescent green yucky stuff in the bottom, and I'm going, it's sort of like a green fluorescent stuff in its stomach, and of course they're looking at me going, and I'm feeling sick, and I'm like, it's something. They're going, no, and I'm going, oh, it's just, that's what I'm sort of seeing and hearing, and then she said, oh yeah, no, he did have staph, but he's over that. And I said, oh, okay, it's saying that there's just still some stuff at the bottom of his tummy needs to get out. And then I just, you know, I was guided to put my hands on it, and when I was taking my hands down the horse's stomach, you know, it's like it's cool here, and then it gets warm, and then it gets hot like a candle, and I'm going, oh, there it is. And so I start working with that, and I start pushing it, and it wants to go that way. So I sort of just started moving my hand, and the heat was moving with my hand, right? And then we can start here, the horse's stomach is starting to gurgle, right? Okay, and then I'm just following the lead, and I'm sort of working it, and then I got the sensation in my stomach that I wanted to do a big farty. I'm like, oh, okay, and so I said to her, you need to get a shovel, and she's like, why? And I said, just grab a shovel. And it's coming up, and then I said, put the shovel under his tail, and his tail was down, and she's standing there, you know, holding the poo shovel under there, and I'm like, and here it comes, and out came this bright green poo.
Wow.
Onto the shovel.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I'm like, thank you. Thank you. I have no idea what that is, but thank you. And yeah, he perked up. He you know, got rid of whatever that bug was. So I still didn't really know what I was doing. You know, I'm just being guided, and I'm still the same. You know, I still don't know how it works. I still don't know, but you know, things refine. And so going from that broad to like, you know, there's something about me with animals, and you know, I seem to calm animals down, and you know, they want to be with me when they're sick. To refining this into, you know, following the guidance, and that comes with emptying yourself out and just standing that space and being the conduit. So basically I'm like, you know, you plug into the power over here, and then you just plug in there and you stand in the middle of it, you know, and you'll get these things. So that was how that sort of started, and it just moved, and it's just moved naturally because I've allowed it to move naturally. You know, I didn't trust myself a lot, but I'd been thrown to this point of you will leave your job and you will do this, and it's going to be fine. You got this, and you've got to actually start trusting yourself that you are a healer and that you're not crazy.
And probably the more often you do it, the more the trust increases.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Like now, you know, I can be somewhere and I'm just like, I don't know, there might be nothing there, might be something there, but I'm just, you know, I hold space and whatever needs to happen happens. And
now,
so, yeah.
And now it's even possible that you can communicate with animals all over the globe.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I should tell you the story about Renate's farm. Have any of you heard that story from Renate or Ernst?
No, none of these, I think, who are listening.
Okay. Yeah. Look, what happened was I was invited by my brother over to visit him in Austria. So my brother's name, or our brother's name, Jenny, our brother's name is Greg Bryers, and he's a healer over there, and he works all through Europe, doesn't he? And so he invited me over to visit him, and we went, you know, on a beautiful tour with Renate. And I wanted to go to the farm. I just wanted to, you know, be on an Austrian farm, and, you know, all of the fantasies that are in your head about, you know, Heidi and, you know,
Okay.
and
that's in Switzerland.
yeah, I know. But, you know, when you're from Australia, it's like, you know, everyone that thinks of Australia, they think of red thing. Yeah, red dust in a little tree in the middle. So that was my fantasy, and we went to the farm and we were walking the farm, weren't we? And, you know, we were walking the farm, and then all of a sudden I heard this voice say to me, "Oh, hello. So if you wouldn't mind, so we've all come here to exactly this farm, to exactly this land, to exactly these people at exactly this time, because we're here to work healing humans. And, you know, if you wouldn't mind, we really need these two to get up to speed so that we can do the work that we're here to do. And, you know, sometime in my lifetime would be great because I'm like 30 now. And I'm walking along, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's not cool. You know, my brother's a healer, and then his sister turns up and, you know, wanders in. Oh, guess what? You know, I'm hearing from the fairies about, and so I kind of kept it to myself. But it sort of ended up, you know, I have this situation where if I don't pass on messages, things go wrong. So if I, for example, get a message here and I don't contact the person, and I just kind of think, you know what? Because this is what I used to do. You know, if they want to talk to me, they'll contact me, and, you know, that'll prove that I'm meant to talk to them. And, you know, I'll go out to hop in the car to go and do what I've got to do, and the car won't start, you know, and I'll come back in and I've locked the keys in. So, you know, I just have, I have learned it is what it is. And so then I've created this thing in my mind of it's off my desk and onto yours, right? So if I hear a message, I'll just send it out there, and then they can do with it what they want. And so this is sort of how it worked with these guys. And so then, you know, a few days later, there became an opportunity to, you know, spend some time on the farm with Renate and Ernst. And I felt very compelled. Like, it was just so strong then. It was just so compelling. It was like, you've just got to do what you've got to do. And so I shared this with them. And we took it fairly well. It was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. Rightio. And then I just had this really strong message of like, you have to show her. And I'm like, I don't know how to show her that the horses are here to work with people. And I just got shown a massage bed in the corral. So I said, well, you know, why don't we just take a bed down to, you know, the stables and pop you on it, and, you know, the horses, if they want to work with you, will come around. She goes, no, they're down in the fields. You know, it's the middle of the day.
But the really crazy thing about this is as well that I never had a massage table, but I ordered it just a week before, not knowing why. I just thought, okay, it feels as if I should have a massage table. So it was the first time I ever used it when you came, and we put it up for the first time ever.
Yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and so I put Renate on the table, and all the horses came up from the fields, middle of the day. And then they started coming around her, and there was Naoli worked very closely with me, and there was Lexi, and they all, you know, circled, and some were close and some were, but there were several that were right on her and working with me, and I could feel, because of what I do, I could feel their energy. And, you know, Naoli was meant to be there. And I think there was questions at the time of she wasn't sure she wanted Naoli there, or he wasn't.
Doris? No.
Yeah. There was something about like Naoli was saying, I'm meant to be here. I'm meant to be doing this work.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wanted to make sure that, you know, someone knew that to include him. And so we were working on her, and the experience for you of that was pretty incredible. But then what they did upstairs is they told me that I had to open up Renate's energy fields and basically give her attunements to Reiki healing, even though she hadn't done any training or classes or anything. They just said to me, it's all right, you got this, Anjji, deal with it afterwards. We need you to open her up now. So there was a whole urgency around this thing. So I just did it. I didn't say anything, you know, which I should have, like legally I should have. So I attuned Renate to, and she's just lying there, and she's saying, oh, I can feel like there's holes in my hands, like there's holes in my hands, and there's like energy coming through. And I'm like, and yeah. So how did it feel for you, Renate, when we were doing that?
When it first happened, it was so crazy. I had never experienced that before, but they really opened up holes. I could see it, I could feel it. It was like really as if there are holes and the tunnel going through right into my arms. And yeah, that's where energy was flowing through.
Yeah. So basically upstairs guided me to, she needs to be doing this work now. She needs to be attuned to be doing this. Her body needs to be prepared to be doing this. So that's what I did. And it wasn't until afterwards when she said, what did you do? And I'm like, oh, well, you know, I was a little bit guided. And it went from there. And so that was an amazing day. And then Ernst came home from work, and I'm sort of like, well, you know, I sort of better get going now. And he's like, yay, glad you're here. And we sat there and talked till like 11 o'clock that night or something, didn't we? Like it was some phenomenal hour.
It was after midnight.
Yeah.
It was way after midnight, yeah.
It was too. So that was our encounter. And then from there, I came back to Australia, and, you know, I was here, and it was a couple of months later, and I had a huge day here. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I finally finished everything that I had to do. And I thought, you know what? I've got a bottle of wine there. So I get a bottle of wine, and it lasts me like 2 weeks. It probably tastes disgusting at the end, but every now and then I think, you know what? I'm going to be like a big person and have a glass of wine. So I'm out on the veranda. I'm in the dark, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, oh, wow, that was huge, you know. And I, you know, I'm having a sip of my wine, and then suddenly I hear a voice, and it was, hello, I really need your help. I'm dying. And I'm like, okay, put the wine down. It's obviously gone completely off, and I'm sitting there, and it's like, you need to help me. I'm dying. I'm dying. And so when I heard that, I like focused in and thought, where is it coming from? And I could see this horse Tessa, and I could tell her by, you know, the blaze on her face. And she's standing there, and I'm like, what do you mean you're dying? She's going, I'm dying. I've only got a few days left. I'm really sick. And I'm like, okay, what's wrong? And she's going, and, you know, and then all of a sudden I start feeling my jaw is hurting and my teeth are hurting. And so I'm like, okay, they're going to think I'm crazy, but I know what I have to do. So I messaged Renate in Austria and said, hey, Renate, how you doing? You know, hey, how's your old girl Tessa going? She's going, yeah, she's fine. And, you know, she was busy doing her day. And I said, look, she's just contacted me, and she said she's not very well. And she's like, no, she's good. She's had the vet out this week, and he said she's fine. You know, she's just old. And I said, well, she says she's only a few days off dying. And Renate was horrified. Like, what? And I'm like, yeah. She's going, no, look, she's fine. You know, it was just out. It was the same day or yesterday. But yeah, no, everything's fine. And I said, look, she's telling me this. And I said, can you just go and check on her? And she's going, look, she's fine. You know, Renate's busy. And I'm like, can you do me a favor? Go and take a photo of her for me. Like, oh, you know, because like Renate is trying to run a farm and do all of these things, and everything has to be concise on a farm. And there's some weirdo in the middle of the day, you know, take a photo of your horse for me. The vet's just been there. So she went and took a photo, and she took the photo, and then I felt it. I just like was overwhelmed with what the horse was going through. She'd lost so much weight since I'd been there. And I said, look, she's telling me she's really sick. And Renate's going, well, you know, she's old, Anjji. And I said, no, she's saying that something else. She's saying there's something wrong with her teeth. Like my teeth, my whole jaw and everything's hurting. There's something going on in her mouth. And Renate's going, okay. And I said, can you look in her mouth? And Renate said, I don't think so. She's a grump. And I'm like, look, you know, and I've got Tessa on the other side, sort of going to me, tell her I'll let her. Tell her look at my mouth. I'll let her look into my mouth. And I'm saying, she says she'll let you. And, you know, by this time I wasn't getting messages back. So I thought that Renate had gone and just stopped replying. And then next thing I get a message. Yeah.
What I did then, when I heard I can look into her mouth, she was standing next to me, and I opened the mouth, I hold the tongue, and I slipped my arm into her mouth up to my elbow. And I could feel that the cheek is wounded from the inside, and the teeth are loose. And but it was so incredible that I was allowed to put my arm into her mouth, yeah, up to this long, and nothing happened. I would have never dared to do so. It was, yeah. But I trusted really that I'm allowed to.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Tessa's like standing there saying to me, and so I'm getting the picture of, so when horses eat, they actually grind. Their teeth are made to go like this, and they grind the food, and then that creates the saliva that comes down and creates the juice. And then it all goes down together, and then it can sort of come down and go through their stomach. And so she wasn't able to do this grinding because it was like catching. So she couldn't grind her food. So she was trying to sort of do the best she could. And I'm saying she can't eat properly. And she's going, no, she's eating all her food. And we took a video, and then we stopped it, and we could see that bits were falling out of her mouth. And, you know, whatever was going down was just going down whole. So it wasn't getting broken down in her stomach and coming through. And, oh, yes, that's her on the day. And then 2 weeks later after our work with her. So the one on the left is her 2 weeks later. The one on the right. Was that the day that we treated her?
About, I think so.
It was about the day, yeah. So I don't know if we can see her hind from there. Yeah. So if you move the pictures of people across and you look at her hind quarters, you can see that her top line on the one on the right, when she's sick, there's no meat left on it, and then back over her rump, see how she's losing all her form there. So she was saying that I'm a couple of days off dying. That's how bad this is. So Renate said, look, that the equine dentist has just been here like a week ago or something. I'll get him back. And then I heard this yell in my head of Tessa the horse saying, no, I don't like him. I want a different one. And so she got her teeth fixed, and that was the way that was. But where we went in that conversation was then, so it's all sorted. Someone's onto it. Someone's going to help me. And then Tessa the horse, I started feeling this giggling feeling inside me. And then I could hear Tessa the horse going, whoa, I can't believe I did that. I'm just talking to someone on the other side of the world to talk to someone standing right next to me to fix me. Unbelievable. Like, she was just like elated. She's like, oh my God, this is like so cool. So then she started going, And so like, look, make my food really soupy. So I'm saying, make it soupy. And she goes, yeah, I put water in it. And she's, no, tell her make it more soupy. And I'm going, look, you need to put like 2 liters of water in it. And anyway, so then we went and made up a feed and put water. And then, Tessa's like, yep, that's perfect. And then she starts going, oh, and, a little bit of carrot juice and that'd be good. Thank you. And a bit of apple juice. Thank you. And I'm just laughing because this horse was just like, the feeling it was giving me inside was just this elation and this hilarity of, because Renate, you were saying to me, yeah, it's been strange. She hasn't been eating her carrots lately. And she's going, yeah, no, you can juice it, put it here. And so she had all of these instructions. So that situation there was incredibly eye-opening, wasn't it? It was,
yeah.
It was,
for the last half year she was living, or 10 months, she got apple juice and carrot juice twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, and I poured it above her food, and and soak it in with water, and she loved that.
Absolutely. It was just really incredible. And so where we went from there with Tessa was, Tessa then realized that she could contact me. So she started just popping in, right, and contacting me. And I had one of the girls from the embassy living here from Portugal. And, she'd sort of witnessed things, and she'd done some, look, I want to do some work on myself. So we did some work, and then I started training her into Reiki so that she could go back to Portugal with some, some healing skills and some self-empowerment. And she started saying, I'd be in my room and I'd get this sensation of a horse galloping around the backyard, right? And she'd come in from the other end of the house. She'd say, is there a horse here? And I'd be like, I think so. And then, the horse started talking to me and going, so listen, so what I want to do is we need to, she started instructing me in how she wanted people taught, let's make a circle. And we started doing all these things and making a circle. And then there are other people around, Renate and Ernst, who were, involved in the circle. So we started making the circle. I think we started it with a healing for her, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Tessa was on her own learning journey about how to be a healer as a horse and how to communicate. And so then she started communicating. So we had this circle, and then Tessa started communicating with each person in the circle. And she would give different messages, and sometimes she'd give the same messages just so that there could be clarification and validation. And she was amazing, wasn't she? Like the work that she did. And she started working with the horses and teaching them what she knew and how to connect. And it's just been the most incredible journey that, went so much further from there. But, like how did you guys feel when, after the tooth thing? How did you feel about it, Ernst? Because you're a psychologist, very high up in your industry, and this is like weird stuff to your industry.
It was just an experience for me, and I never dared to think too much about it in a logical way. And I just want to experience it. And I did it. Yeah. And I think that's the best way to blank out everything which can disturb.
Yeah. And you did experience it, didn't you?
Yep.
Do you want to share that?
I experienced, especially, it was on the day before Tessa died, and she in the evening she was already falling down, and we helped her, and she finally was standing again, and she was feeling much better than before. and I was going down to the other horses, and I think I was opening a fence. And when I walked back to the stable, Tessa passed me by, going down to the pasture, and it was immediately there that I know, yes, like I'm going down there to die, and it was there, and it was but it was okay. It's also with the same feeling. It's okay. I'm going down there to die, and that's the way it is, and it's the right way. Yeah, and it was just an experience.
And she did the next morning.
Yep.
She went down there because it was just on evening, wasn't it, when you had the conversation with her?
Yeah, it was not in the evening. More. It was already dark.
Yeah.
It was already.
When you got up in the morning, she was there by her.
In the morning, then I was waking up with the feeling that it's not time. That it will be. Yeah.
And this morning we found her laying under the tree where I already saw it before, and the herd was standing next to her, and she couldn't get up anymore, and she was about to die. And that's on the 23rd of May. It's the first date of birth of death. So it's almost a year that happened.
Absolutely. And she'd shown you where she was where you were going to find her. She'd shown you where she was going to be.
Yeah, I had this picture a couple of weeks already before. I knew that this will happen that way. Yeah.
And it was in that exact same place that she'd shown
it was exactly the same place, and I knew that she wanted this to happen there. Yeah.
So that was really incredible. And then from there, so we did a circle. We had the circle of people that have worked with Tessa, and we did a circle when she was dying.
But before that, we had another incredible experience when I was there was one day that she went in circles and that she fell, and I saw it from my kitchen window, and I saw her fall down, and I wanted to go out and help her, but I got the picture or the like message. A command. It was, no, you don't move, you stay and you just look. And I was, I was not supposed to help. I was to watch what will happen. And this was incredible, difficult, but I did. And then she got up again, and she shook her head, and I thought, okay, it looks kind of okay again. And then the whole herd was gone, and they went down to the grass. And then I went out and started cleaning the stable. And all of a sudden, I got a message from Anjji. And this message said, so hurry up and run down to the horses. Tessa is in extreme pain, and you have to run down quickly. She's going to die. I ran down as fast as I could, and I found her on the grass, and she was kind of very weird. As she had a weird eye position, I could see the white of her eyes, and she again was shaking her head. Yeah, and then I asked Anjji what I should do, and she said,
I sent a mean message.
Uh-huh.
I sent a mean message.
Uh-huh. Well, she said, you don't ask me what to do. You're a Reiki master. You know what you're supposed to do. And well, she didn't want it to be touched, but she wanted me to hold my hands above her face, and especially on, I don't know which side it was, one side above her eye. And then Anjji let me and told me that there must be some blood clot behind her eye, and that when I hold my hand there, that I can relieve the pain, and that the blood can flood again. And it was you who experienced this pain within yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So the story from my side was, I was just doing my day here, and the embassy girls were here, and I was walking through the house. We were going somewhere, and I was walking through, and I suddenly just got hit with this massive pain behind my left eye. And I'm like, oh, like it stopped me in my tracks. And I'm like, oh, what is that? And it felt like, you know, I thought I was having like a brain aneurysm or something. Like it was really, and then I'm standing there and I'm going, oh, hang on, is that my pain? Or no, that's not my pain. So when you feel pain, it's like a pain, but it's not a pain. There's a separation. And the only way I can describe it is like having a piece of plastic between you and the pain. So you can differentiate between it being yours and not yours. And I don't know if you've ever felt that with, you know, people or your children, that you sort of get a sense of pain within you, and that's what's wrong with your child. But that's what I had. And so then I'm standing there and I'm sort of gripping the table, and I was like, okay, so who is it? Who is it? And then Tessa's head slammed into me, like, and I just called out to Joanna. I said, Joanna, get the phone quickly. Contact Renate. I want you to send a message to tell her it's urgent. Get down to the fields. She's down in the fields. It's Tessa. Something seriously wrong with her. And I could feel it. And then Renate, of course, ran straight down to the fields. And when she got there and she's messaging me, you know, what do I do? I firmly heard Tessa say to me, tell her, you're a Reiki master, do what you've got to do. So I'm like, relay the message as it is. And so I sent that. And Tessa was showing me, it was like a download, and she was showing me that this whole thing has been created because we don't have time for Renate to doubt herself anymore. And what happens is when people are healers, you know, they think, oh, am I crazy? Am I fake? Am I pretending this? Like, it doesn't feel like, am I? And they were just done with that. And so this whole scenario was created by this horse in the realms, or whoever it works with, to kick Renate into thing and go, you're a healer, do it. Sorry, just lost my life. It's probably Tessa. Kick.
Yeah, because it all made sense then. That first I was not allowed to go down and help when she first fell, but then I had to run down and do this work and this healing session on her. Yeah.
And so, you know, if you just, like, if you've heard nothing else tonight, if you take that little tiny scenario and you think, so a horse, right, clearly has a clear view of what we're doing and who she is and what her training's been for the last 2 years and what she should be doing and what she's not doing. And that horse has made a plan with God knows who to put this thing in play, right? Right, I'll take a fall, bit of an aneurysm, get down there, you know what, make a run down the field. Don't do it up in the stables, make a run. And put this whole thing to teach Renate about the courage that she has inside and about the healer that she is. That to me in itself is mind-blowing, right? And, you know, just a phenomenal story. It took you about half an hour, and the eye went down and it eased, and she went back to eating, didn't she? So she didn't need any vets or anything from that. But it was, you know, so I had that on the other side of the world that was happening real time there in the paddock. So yeah, these are phenomenal stories.
Anjii, we have a question from Manuela. When would you like to answer it? Now? Shall we?
Well, should we finish our Tessa story? Are you okay with that, Manuela? So if we just, because we're sort of nearly there. So Tessa still works with us. But one thing I'm ready to share with people is Tessa's experience of dying. Now, we all have it, you know, I have a lot to do with terminal people and dying people and, you know, NDE experiences and things like that. But I want to share with you the most incredible thing that has ever happened to me in my life, beyond anything else, is this horse allowed me to experience her dying from her point of view. And I just think it's something we can all learn from and understand from. And, you know, if you're all comfortable with that, I'd love to share that with you before we continue on. You all okay with that? Okay. All right, cool. So on the day of Tessa leaving, so she had already told Ernst the night before, hey, bud, I'm going down to die under my tree. So yeah, you got that for the morning? Yep, you're all good. Okay, cool. She's gone down to do that. They've come out in the morning. She's already shown Renate, this is where I'm going to go. So, you know, so they get down there in the morning and she's prone. And so I linked in with her. And I immediately had this sensation in my hip, right? And it was like my hip joint was like aching and aching. And I could hear her saying to me, yeah, I've got this, I'm going, but I can't concentrate on it because the pain in my hip is so like annoying. It's just overriding anything. You know, when you've got like that searing pain and you can't concentrate on anything else because that's just, you know, frustrating you. So it's like having a migraine and trying to, you know, read a book or something. And so she's saying, you know, get them to put something between my knees. So what happens with the horses is, you know, their legs are like this, but when they're prone, it's sort of, it's held down like that. And so the pressure on the hip bone pulling out was quite severe. So, you know, I sort of sent a message and said, look, she wants something between her knees. And I knew they didn't get to it because I could still feel that pain all the way through. But they've found it there, then they've got to organize vets, and they've got like, they just, you guys were just flat out trying to, you know, organize everything. And so I'm there with her, but she's sort of, you know, she's talking about, okay, I'm going, and they organized a circle, and all of the circle, you know, joined in their own homes and connected in with Tessa. And, you know, first incredible thing is that Tessa had a conversation with every person in that circle separately and at the same time as she was dying. Mind-blowing, right? And so she was doing that, and they said, look, we'll get the vet out, you know, we'll give her the green machine, which is, you know, euthanasia. And she's like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I can do this myself. And I mentioned that, but, you know, I'm not there, right? I'm not on the ground, and they can see the pain and how long she's been there and how, you know, desperate it is. And so she go, no, I can do this, can do this. And so then she's there and she's going, okay, all right, yeah, I'm ready to go. Tell them to put their hands on my forehead, right? And give her Reiki, or put energy and light into her forehead. And I sent that message, and you know, the vet had just arrived. They've got to get her down to the paddock, and they've got to do all these things. And so, you know, no one's sort of there able to answer this. And then she's, you know, she's asking more and more. I need the hands on my forehead. Get them to put the hands on my forehead. And they're busy. And, you know, she's like, look, I don't want the green machine because I want to experience. I want to do this myself, but it's okay, you know, whatever. But so then she's there. And then all of a sudden, I was sitting in the daylight out in my back garden on a chair and, you know, connected in. And then all of a sudden, I was in a dark hallway, right? So it wasn't dark, but it was sort of, you know, that browny light. You know, when there's a hallway, it's got like a little bit of light, but not a lot of light. Sort of like, you know, if you close your eyes and you imagine a hallway, it's got an oval roof, and it went up and there was sort of a big oval door at the end, almost like dirt. And she's going, okay, I'm going to go. And next thing I feel myself going, and I can see through her eyes, and we're going up this hallway and we come up to this door. And as we come up, I realize that it's not a door, it's a brown wall, and it's the inside of all the hairs on her forelock, on her, you know, blaze. Yep. And it didn't open. And so then I had this sensation of being pulled back, and the hallway went like this. And she's going, tell them to put their hands on my forehead. And I sort of sent the message. And by this time, they're just full on, the vets, you know, organizing her and stuff. So we tried this like 3 times, and we're getting up and we're falling back. And I'm sort of feeling desperate, you know, because that's the sensation I'm getting. And then Tessa said to me, and the exact words, Tessa had different language for different days. Some days she spoke like a, you know, a Victorian sort of, and these and thous and arts. And then other times she was like, fucking humans, you know. It's like, whoa. And so she just always said something for every day. And then, yeah, and she said just like, you know, saying, trying to put the play hands on my forehead. I'm like, yeah. And they're busy. And she says to me, oh, the vet's faffing around with my vitals. So it's a word that, you know, I don't use, and I don't know if you use it in Austria, but it's like a weird word. Okay. And so then we took another run at this door, and it didn't open. She pulled back, and then suddenly she was gone. And I'm like sitting in the garden going, okay. So I don't know what's going on. And I'm sitting there for a couple of minutes, and I'm like, and then all of a sudden, I just went whoosh, and it was this sensation of falling, and it was falling like, if you can imagine, you know, those movies where, you know, they're going down through dark water, and then there's the moonlight, you know, on the surface of the thing, and the moonlight's getting smaller because you're falling back. So I fell down through this, what I call water, like 2 stories, this black water with the moonlight, and I'm just like the sensation of falling. So it wasn't an awful feeling. It wasn't a painful feeling. It wasn't scary. It was just like, whoa, right, check that out. And then all of a sudden, it just went, and it was like one of those stages for a TV show where it's all white. You know, when they do the, you know, the comedy heaven shows, and you know, God's just there on this big white screen. It was exactly that big white screen, and then all of a sudden I saw this black horse, this shiny, healthy black horse with a red tartan coat on it. And all I could hear was like, whoa, I did it. I made it. And that was Tessa. And I'm like, the feeling of elation was like, oh my God. And so then that was it, right? And they said, yeah, she's gone. I'm like, yep. And then we talked later, and I said, look, I saw a tartan coat on her, and Renate said that when she was there, she'd seen the tartan coat too. And Joanna, who was here in her room crying and joined in her circle, she's going, she had a coat on, it was tartan. I'm like, 3 of us saw the tartan coat. So we all separately found the right tartan that was on her. And I purposely sent a tartan to Renate that was not the right tartan. And Renate came back with exactly the picture that Joanna and I had swapped with each other. We'd both found exactly the same tartan photo of a girl in a tartan that Renate had found in Austria. was exact same tartan, exact same picture. Go figure that one. It was the Rothschild tartan. And you had bought Tessa from the Rothschild. She was a Rothschild horse. Mm-hmm. And there she was in the afterlife in a Rothschild tartan coat. And that to me is like, and mic drop, you know, like, wow. So that's the incredible story of this horse. And that is one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had in my life of being taken through. So not only how a horse would go naturally, so now I sort of understand that they go through their forelock, but how it felt from her side. You know, she was no longer in pain. She was no longer in things. She's like, you know, she's actually in there, and her body probably looked terrible with what was going on in the physical, but she wasn't aware of any of that. She was actually sitting there going, oh, I'm going, there it is, there it is, there it is. Okay. You know, and exiting the body. And that's why I think that prayer when someone is dying, you know, helps to open up those portals, and you know, Reiki and all of these great healing tools are just amazing for people who are passing. But I got to experience personally that experience of how an animal leaves its body, or how we leave our body, or whatever. And I got to experience what we call the green machine. So, you know, so many of my clients are broken because they had to euthanize their dog, and they thought they did it too early. And is he up there angry at me? Am I going to be punished by God when I get there? And you know what? She had no thoughts on that, whatever. You know, she didn't get out there and go, I can't believe they used a green machine on me. How rude is that? You know, that's disgusting. I should go on my own time. She was just there going, poof. What a peaceful thought that brings to, you know, each of us of like, you know, it's an incredible journey. And I just think that, you know, she is the greatest teacher of my life, and of many others. And she works with horses. She works with horses on the farm. She works with clients that go there. She works with everyone in that circle. She works with me to this day. I had a hypno client, a gentleman, and he was under hypno, and he said to me, my whole experience down there was this like a horse just like staring at me. So there was just this big black horse and its eyes staring at me the whole time I was under hypnosis. And, you know, to say the least, that was what was necessary in that treatment. And that was Tessa, you know, in my eyes, that was Tessa watching over what we were doing. And, you know, I just find it beautifully incredible. So that's the story of Tessa, and that's the story of Renate's Farm. And Renate's Farm is now a working healing sanctuary that works with people and humans, and these horses do connect, and they do heal, and they are just everything that I imagined they would be when I was 3. And here we are. So, yeah. So let's get to some questions. Oh, have you, well, Renate and Ernst, why don't you sort of talk about your side of that journey? Because you were both receiving visions from her too through that whole process.
I knew that she was going to die that morning. I witnessed also the herd, that they were all keeping company to her. Yeah. And they were not only standing around her, but also they did also lay down. And well, the weather was not very inviting. It was raining. And so there you can see Tessa and the horses standing and laying beside her. I always hoped that she can die without a vet, do it by herself. But I knew that she was on the floor, on the ground already for at least a couple of hours. Time. She was always trying to get up again, but she couldn't. And I decided I don't want to watch this any longer. And that's why I called the vet. And I reached her immediately. I also thought that if it's difficult to get the vet, okay, then I will wait. But it was Saturday, early morning. And so she took up the phone immediately and she came. And so then I said, okay, that was the right decision. Yeah. I would have, to me, I would have preferred if she did it on her own, but it was as it was. And it was the best decision because I didn't want it to wait any longer.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. And it was, it was a really, I don't know what's the right word for it. It was an overwhelming experience. On one side, it was to feel that she didn't want to be here anymore. She wanted to leave. And it was, I think, we had the chance to help her. Often with people, we do not have this chance, and they have to. For many people, it might be difficult to die, but you can't euthanize them as you can with animals. So that's I think it's a good tool, and I was glad we did this way. And I was aware when she was gone. It was immediately after the injection was set. She left, so it was not difficult. She didn't fight. It was difficult for the vet to find the blood vein, but that's another story.
Yeah, that must be the faffing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what, she gave us the experience of seeing both ways. So that's the incredible blessing out of that. And it's you know, she was being gallant and saying, I want to do this myself, but you know, she was in incredible pain. She'd been there for a long time. Like the pain in the hip was just phenomenal. Like it was overbearing, even you know, with the plastic between us, it was overbearing. So you know,
and it was because she always fell. Yeah, and it was from the standing up and falling down again and getting up, and it was at the end probably a 450 kilo horse. And when you always fall on your bones, it must have hurt incredibly.
And when I came down to the place where she was lying, after some minutes, it was completely present to me that it was necessary now go for the vet. And Renate remembers when I'm very strict in that what I experienced, and we did it immediately then.
Yep.
Because I got the message now, and don't.
Absolutely. I believe it was absolutely the right thing to do, and it was absolutely the right timing, because it allowed her to give that little insight into the journey and then the other journey and be out of pain. You know, it was a long journey for her to do those hours. And, you know, I just could not imagine the pain that she was in. And the pain that you guys are in, you know, watching her there and you know, wanting, you know, so much for her to let go, and she couldn't let go, and she couldn't get out on her own, you know. So I think it's a beautiful experience. And, you know, so when she was saying, you know, I don't want the green machine, it's like, but, you know, whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's like she just wanted to try and get out there herself. Yeah. So, yeah. So, have we got any questions? Where are we up with our questions? Let's go to some questions now. I think I've raved on enough.
Yeah. So Manuela had a question.
So, hello.
Hi.
Hi. So first, thank you for this deep healing story. It touched very, very much. So I'm really in this resonance. But I'm also very strong connected to horses. I'm healing horses. I hear them. I feel them. I'm getting pictures in any way. So my struggle now is really in the beginning, it started that the horses really started to talk to me, because one day I asked, please universe, how can I contribute horses? Yeah. And then they started to talk to me. And in the first it was only horses where I know the owners, they are friends of mine. So one horse said, I have arthrose, please tell it to my owner. Yes, okay, thank you. Please tell it to my owner. And yes, I did this, and the owner said, my friend said, no, she didn't have this. She didn't have any pain. And 3 weeks after, one chiropractic, yes, he told the owner she has arthritis, yes. So now it happened that horses started to talk to me where I don't know the owner. They are very strange people. So yesterday I was with the herd, and there was standing a white horse, and she had pain in her back legs, and there was the owner and also some vet, and I saw the owner is really in a shock, in a panic, and only see the horse and the doctor, and I got the information. And so for me, it's really, this is my struggle. It's really difficult. So am I allowed to go to this person and say, oh, your horse told me you have to do this or that? Yeah. And then I went into the herd on the farm, and there's another old horse, and he's reconnected. He was out of this herd for 1 year because he also had a pain in his leg, and now he started to be reconnected. And the horse, he told me, I'm very anxious, I'm afraid, and I don't want to connect to the herd, and can you show me how to do? And the owner, he was not here, she was not here. And then I asked the horse and said, okay, come on, I'm here. We will do the first steps and the next steps, really. And then at the end, he was at the herd again, and he was taking grass, and he was so relaxed. And so I said, okay, I say to myself, so what can I do if I don't know the people? And the horses are always coming to me and say, please do something in a very directly way, not so please, could you please? So here I am, I have this problem, please. Yeah. And this is this is a struggle for me, because I feel my heart so connected. And if the owner is not ready to take this information. So do you have some experience or similar experiences? Or
look, very, very, very much so. And you know, I struggled with it for a long time. And you know, if they need me, they'll ask me, you know, and if you guys need them to need me, then you'll make it so. That's not how it works. They're sort of like, no, you're the receptionist, you've got to go out and get the, you know. So I really just ended up, if you start looking around you now, and you start looking around when you've got messages that you don't want to give, just start looking around at your everyday and start looking at what's being held away from you. Because you can communicate, they need you to communicate. And perhaps sort of moving into that field. So like Renate's now, I've trained Renate to, you know, Reiki animal communication, and, you know, Reiki master, and, you know, perhaps having that piece of paper, right, will assist people to take you seriously, because that's the hardest thing is people taking you seriously. Yes. When, you know what, the horses are taking you seriously, and, you know, the realm's taking you seriously, and the realm's kicking bum. It's like, well, you know, how do I do this? People, for our stupid reasons, need the piece of paper. Oh, you know, so it's like the racing trainer for Moody's who have, you know, the, you know, Black Caviar and world-renowned horses here. He said to me, you know, Anjii, I've worked out what your problem is. He said, you can't come to our stables and I can't pay you, and I can't send a bill to, you know, Black Caviar's owner and say, so there's a $400 bill there because someone came and talked to the horse, right? He said, but I can send him a bill there for vet nurse Anjii. He said, I think you need to get that piece of paper, do your vet nursing.
I have a lot of piece of papers. I did Reiki. I did 7 years Indonesian healing work. I have a lot of pieces. This is not the problem. Yes.
So what's stopping you? What's stopping you from going up and saying, look, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I just have a really strong sense that your horse has got arthritis. Can you look into it? Like, can you, maybe put some brewer's yeast into the diet that'll make a big difference and stuff like that.
I think it's very, like yesterday, the situation, the owner, she was only focused on the vet and the horse, and she didn't recognize me. So my feeling was really, it's now not the right time to interrupt, say, here I am, and I could contribute.
Hello, I'm here.
Here I am, I'm
this
I'm
is
the
what's
healer.
wrong.
Yes. And on the other side, really, I see the pain and the need to support. And for me, it's really, this is the struggle. It's not that I have not enough apprenticeships in energy work or healing work. It's more, how can I offer and talk about this? And I think for my feeling, it's a thing of time to really to be seen, to talk to the owners, that they start to trust me.
Well, perhaps better when you call, when the situation is over and you're back home, and then call her and say, well, you see, I have been there as well, and I witnessed, and your horse was talking to me.
It's a possibility. Today I'm going to this herd again. I'm driving to this place. Perhaps I will see the owner. It's not easy to offer this.
It is not easy, and I get called crazy a lot, but you know what, I've got horses there that are still alive because of me, and I've got dogs there that are still alive because of me, and so I just own it. And it's like, the owners can take it the way they want. I had a racehorse that was broken down, and his issue was that his trainer was extremely stressful, and so she was stressful, I'm stressful, and it's like, we've got the racecourse down, I don't know what's wrong with her. It's like, so I'm getting out there, and he's like this, and she needed to step away, and I had to talk to her and say, you nearly cost that horse's life today. What do you think his problem is? And she went, me? And I'm like, no, but she didn't listen. She knew it. She said it herself. She shot that horse 2 weeks later. She should have just said, look, I'll give him to someone else with a different temperament. And people don't listen, but it is what it is. So if you take on this thing of like, off my desk and onto yours, and then it just is what they can call you crazy, whatever, but you know what, your horse is going to be happy, and you can have a conversation with their horses. I think it's just time that we all stood up. I think the greatest thing about today for you is that knowing you're not alone in this, that there are others, and we've all come here. These horses have come here to do this work. Tessa is out there teaching horses from where she is now how to communicate with people. So she's doing teaching on that side. She's teaching people here to, that they can communicate with horses. And so, she's just become from this first time ago, oh my God, I spoke to a human, to now she's a great teacher, and, that didn't come easy. I had her 3 o'clock in the morning, raging through my house. And I had, one of the girls that had come down there and go, so horse raging around the house. And I'm like, yeah, sorry. And I actually had to sit there, and this horse was going, oh my God, what is the matter with people? Humans are so stupid. Like, this person, is no point even teaching her. She's wasting my time, and I only have a certain amount of time left, and this person's wasting my time because she just loves the drama too much. And she's just raving. And like, I'm getting a headache, and, my dogs and the cat's like staring off and like yowling at the roof, and the dogs are like tucked in for cover. And I ended up, I had to sort of say, listen here, don't you ever come into my house and wake me up with that kind of behavior. Now, you learn some respect, right? You talk to me when it's proper. And by the way, people are stupid. And something I've had to learn, Tessa, is that I can give them the message. What they do with it is up to them. And that's all you've got to do as a teacher, Tessa, is be the light, and people will do with it what they want.
Yeah, yeah.
She took off and she came back a couple of hours, you know, a lot more humble and sort of like, yeah, well, actually, that makes sense. So, yeah, cool. I don't have to carry that anymore, right?
Yeah, okay.
So it's the same thing with you. It's like owning it, understanding that, you know, we're all here, and there is this great build of work. There's a great build of people, you know, you've come into this life to do this.
Yeah.
And so, you know, join with us all and make that stronger and bring it out to the world and bring it out that it's so natural. We all have this ability. And when we take away all the rubbish, her owner would hear it too, you know, but she's so busy worrying about, you know, so own it, walk tall, you know, it'll be what it be. You're protected.
Yeah.
You know, they'll watch over you. People will do with it what they want. And, you know, just be who you are, because
and
this is the work we're here to do.
Yeah. And I made the experience that it's for me easier if I really ask the horses. So please, can you contribute me? Can you show me how I can connect with your owner? Yeah.
Perfect.
And really it happened. So the owner came to me and asked me, oh, what are you doing? Or you are very kind to my horse. Yeah. Or so and so. I think it's very, never forget to ask the horse to contribute you also. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And they will show you the way. Or, you know, you might sort of say something about the back legs and, you know, they might even back up and show the back leg. Do you know what I mean? Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing how it works. So perfectly the right answer. You're perfectly in the right place. You're doing what you're meant to do. Just own it. Take courage. You're welcome.
Good.
Jenny, have you got any questions? My sister.
Perhaps we can talk about the how important the places are for the horses. I think that's a nice story as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So this was very much one of Tessa's messages. She showed her blaze to the whole circle, didn't she? But she expressly, like I just kept getting this message that she wanted her blaze painted on the wall. And I just got shown a wall with her blaze there, like a great marking of, you know, Tessa was here. And the importance that each one is individual as DNA is to us. And to horses, apparently the blazes on other horses or the markings are really important. I don't know what that importance is, but to them it means a lot. And so I now look at them differently and I recognize them differently, and, you know, understanding that maybe is the portal to their, you know, to their work and their connection and things like that. So, but yeah, Tessa was the first one that said that. And even since then, you know, when Pascal left, you know, Pascal wanted his little blaze up there too, right?
Yeah, right. So I painted, so you can now see on the screen on the left-hand side, on the left side, it's Tessa's place, and you can see her on the picture, as well as Pascal next to it. For me, it's whenever I look there, of course I see both of them standing there, and it's like they are both watching over us, over the herd, over our place. And that's the look we have when we look out of our living room window. So
beautiful.
Yeah, and I really love that to watch and to see this. And I'm really curious why it's so important to them. I understand that it's like a fingerprint,
me too.
But I really wonder what makes it so special. And how about horses who do not have a place?
Exactly. That's my question. It's like some horses don't have any, but they have markings that horses recognize. So they can recognize that horse in a herd of 20 horses with no markings. So, you know, that all interests me, and that's all to be TBA. You know, someone will learn that somewhere and they'll bring that to the light, and we'll be sitting there 20 years on going, we were talking about that 20 years ago. Isn't that interesting that they've now found that? That's really amazing. Yeah. So Jenny, take your thing off mute and ask your question. Oh, chewing.
I think I don't know where Ernst went. He went to the toilet. I think only he can do it. Or
okay, that's all right. It's okay.
I can't do it. But we can tell.
I can do it.
No.
Ask to unmute.
No, I think it's only him.
Yes, you can.
Oh,
I can do it.
You can. Well done. So I just wanted to say it's been fascinating to hear the stories from Renate and Ernst as well as you. We've been sharing these stories together as sisters, but hearing all the background information has been fascinating. And thank you so much for sharing it. It's really brought the kōrero, that's Māori, the stories to life for us. It's fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here, Jenny. It's like really an honor to have you here, you know.
Thank you.
Really nice.
Well, like Anjii said, I've always noticed in her that she has an affinity with animals right from when she was a little girl. She'd prefer the company of horses to people. So, when she was a little girl, she'd bravely go off to the racetracks when we were still too scared to go down the road. So she'd just disappear for hours to go and brush the horses.
Yeah.
So it's been something that we've noticed with her as her gift to humankind and animal kind for all her life. So it's wonderful that she's feeling confident about her gift to be able to help animals. It's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny.
You're welcome.
Yes,
So
thank
nice.
you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful. I actually just had an image of me. I remember going to the dog pound and we'd take the dogs for a walk and take like 10 at a time, you know, take them for a run. And, you know, a lot of the dogs that go to pounds aren't very happy dogs. But yeah, it's a beautiful journey. I'm so glad to be here. You know, I'm actually fulfilling my life's dream. Do this. Yeah. Okay, so if we got any other questions, guys? How do you feel about what you heard today? Carolyn, you're very quiet there.
Ernst, if Carolyn shall say something, you have to unmute her.
Now it's possible that everyone can unmute by herself.
Themselves.
Beautiful. That's
Ich bin
perfect.
sehr gerührt von der Geschichte und habe einfach fasziniert zugehört und mitgespürt.
Okay, I'm overwhelmed by the story I heard, and I'm fascinated, and I felt with my body.
Beautiful. Wow. Wow. Has it changed the way you think?
Hat's was geändert daran, wie du denkst, wie du denkst?
Nein.
Is it confirmed
War vorher schon
what
so.
you already know?
Hat's das bestätigt, was du weißt?
Ja.
Yes, it did confirm what she already knew.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Manuela, how are you feeling?
So for me, it's really good to see that there are a lot of ways how we are able to communicate. We are able to communicate with horses or with animals, and how they are communicate with us. So and the important thing is to find your way. If you are more the visible and you see the inner pictures, or if you're more the one who hears, and this was so fascinating. I'm getting information very in a compact way and very clear. So, and not such in long pictures or so on. So, and everything it's okay. So really, okay, wow, it's interesting how it is, the possibilities to really empfangen, receive the information, and also what is possible to do, really to ask the horses, or to say, now here is the boundary, it's enough, this is my space. Yes. Also to say stop. This is also a new, not a new, but it's like I remember this is also a possibility to do.
Absolutely.
And a really deep story, and a wonderful story for an animal communicator to go this way with an animal to death. And on the other side, really, yes, the animal is aussuchen, missing the words.
Choose.
The animal is choosing the mediator also. And the animal knows you are able to go with me this way. You have the power. And this is really, I'm trusting this. So if an animal is talking to me, or if I have this connection, then I'm able to go this way. And this is the trust, how this is so beautiful, really.
It is, isn't it? And it's it's why I'm allowed to be here now, and really it's just to pass a simple message to people like yourself. You're doing it, keep doing it, walk tall. You are one of the gallant spirits that have come forward to help heal the animals that we've harmed for so long, and to bring understanding to people, and empathy, and change the way we walk on this earth.
And it's also necessary, really, to hear the story from you, to hear the story from other healers or animal communicators. Like you said, we are not alone, and also how it is so necessary to become visible, and to share our stories. And this is no, hocus pocus spiritual thing. It's really, this is a space also to support animals.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I was kicked out of my silence. They just said to me, we're done. Sorry, no more time. You haven't got enough time to be mucking around anymore. So we're getting real. And you can fight it if you want, but we're going to fight it more. And guess what? We'll win. So, I was kind of punched out of my fear of voicing who I am. And hopefully I can make other people feel better about who they are, and kind of go, well, yeah, you know what, that's me, and I own it too, and I'm going to keep doing this work, and I'm going to help people to understand that yes, animals do have feelings. The amount of horse trainers that have said to me, oh my God, it's a bloody horse, Anjji. And just the cows, I've been given the understanding that cows will offer a life of service to bring sustenance to us, and they will actually come into this life. What the realms are unhappy with is the way that we treat them when they're here. You know, that life of service, we should be honoring them and giving them a beautiful life. You know, the plants offer a life to give sustenance to the animals. The animals offer a life to give sustenance for us. And what do? We abuse them all. And that's where the issue is with them. And that's where they're sort of saying, like I was shown how an animal, like a chicken that's free on a farm, that's giving its life of service, and it knows it's going to be dinner and it's good to go, right? So they have ancient cultures that had this thing of, like, they would be there with the herd and they would pray and they would ask for the animal that's going to feed their tribe to please step forward, and one would step forward, right? They know that. But when we're, what was I trying to say? When we're dishonoring that, that's right. That's what they showed me. They showed me that the meat on a chicken, and they said, you try this. They said, we want you to eat a chicken that has been brought up happily. And then we want you to eat a supermarket chicken. And they said, you can taste the harm that we've done to them in the flesh. And you actually can. You can actually tell when something is real or not, even in eggs, right? And that's what they showed us. They said, you know, that by poisoning the animals, we're actually poisoning ourselves, because that's coming down and then going through our system. And all of that harm and hurt and trauma is coming through us and creating things in our body. And until we realize that, we're just poisoning ourselves with, you know, the sustenance. So, you know, it's a whole world out there that's like beyond me. I'm just touching the very edges. I'm like a child, you know, standing there looking at the universe going, wow, okay, so, yep. All right, you know, and then there's so much more to learn, and all of us will learn something. You know, we'll all learn something that other people haven't got. You know, you'll be showing things that you kind of like, wow, that's kind of, you know, and you'll share that out, and other people go, oh, okay, that makes sense to me now. Do you know, this is what we're here for, and we're all very blessed to be here. I'm blessed that you came, and thank you.
Thank you, and I feel it's really, we are just at the beginning with our work to go out, and I feel like a pioneer, do you know, the first one who is going and making a new path, and but it's worth every hard work, every
absolutely,
because it's really a hard work. It's a hard work, and I can't make a change. I can't say, okay, I go and do another work. No, it's not possible.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good to, yes.
But Manuela, you don't have to think that it's a hard work. It can be easy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The only hard part is our fear, right?
Yeah.
Our fear of what other people will think. So, you know, man has nothing to fear but fear itself. And when you no longer have fear, it doesn't matter what they think of what you say, but you said it. But I love your strategy of asking an animal in that case, of saying, hey, help me show them, you know, guide me. What am I meant to do? Just show me how to do it. Let's work together. Let's get this message through to them. And I would love to hear back from you. So, you know, keep going on the page and sharing, you know, examples you find of this, and keep a diary, you know, and jot these things down, and jot down what you see in your dreams, and jot down what horses tell you, and keep a diary. And then, you know, you'll start looking back on it and going, wow. And then you'll see how much you've grown and how much stronger the messages get. You know, you're playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and then you're playing Chopin, and then you're writing, you know, beautiful, beautiful sonnets. And it's a...
Perhaps we can briefly tell the story from Pascal, who told you, Anjii, that he has lost his mother.
Oh, yes, darling Pascal.
This was really crazy. Yeah. So Anjii was getting the information from Pascal that he lost his mother, and I always said, no, that's stupid, because Tessa was not his mother. And but Anjii was getting always the same message, and it absolutely doesn't make sense.
And it was actually infuriating you, wasn't it? You're like, she's kind of like, oh my God, he's not his mother. I'm like, oh.
And I was thinking, how can Anjii forget that Tessa is not Pascal's mother? I somehow got angry because I thought, well, she always gets it wrong, or she can't remember. Well, till finally, last, I think it was beginning of December, last December, when I suddenly realized that Pascal is not talking about his mother, but that he is talking about the mother of his of the person who owns him, because Pascal was not my horse, but the horse of my daughter. And my daughter and I had a big argument Christmas before, and I threw her out of the house. And we didn't have had contact since then. And I was suffering from this, and my daughter as well, but we didn't have contact. So what Pascal was saying, I'm missing my mother, meant that my daughter is missing me. And it was clear that he won't live much longer. And I messaged her, and I messaged her that I think it's good to come and say goodbye to Pascal. And she came 2 days afterwards, and this meeting initiated our reunion. And we have pictures on this. And can you please share those? So this was last December, and it was really obvious that he wanted us to reconnect again, and that he only waited. He had laminitis, and I thought that the laminitis he got because he was so sad that Tessa had died, and he had it 3 times last year. And the last time it was actually so intense that and Anjii always said he misses his mother, and he misses his mother, till I realized, okay, it's not Tessa, but I have to contact Lena, and we got reunion. And he then I have been euthanized then beginning of the new year, and but this was his last task, his last work he wanted to do before he leaves, and this was really incredible.
And what he'd done in that circle was it was like, you know, what do you want to do? Like, you know, some days he was really bad, and some days he was a bit better, and it was like, what do you want to do? The pain you're in is incredible. And he was like, I'll let you know when I want to go, but I can't go yet. And why not? And all I kept hearing is because I miss my mother, you know. And I'm like, and so we're doing this thing, and so he said, I'll let you know when we go. And we asked for a sign, didn't we? We asked for, you know,
I then asked for a sign, if he want to be put down. And the other day I went out in the stable, he was standing on 3 hoofs again. So I knew this was the sign I asked for. And the very next day I called the vet, and he left his body so quickly. She hadn't even put in the injection, and he was already gone. And he was joyful, and he was galloping away, and Tessa had waited for him, and he was around like 2 weeks, and I always saw him galloping around the grass and joyful, and as I remember him, he always was a joyful and happy horse, and this was really mind-blowing.
And we were both showing the same vision of Tessa standing there waiting for him, and then he just joined her, and you know, she's just showing us galloping together across fields, and
a couple of other people had the same picture. So Susie did, and Beate as well, and Sonia. So that was really wonderful.
So guys, it's possible, and anyone can do it. We all do it. And We just got to trust that. You know, we do the same with our children. You know, we can sense our children, we can sense our loved ones that aren't here anymore. You know, when they talk to us, they are talking to us. You know, Jenny has experiences of you know, help from the other side and guidance and having discussions, and you know, and this is with you know, love. It's all based in love. It's all based in being who you are and stripping away all of your negativities, all of your fears and your trauma, and just finding that space where you can stand, and then you'll hear for sure.
Okay, so we have almost 2 hours. So I think we will end for today, and perhaps we can have another chat another time.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for joining. I really appreciate it that you joined, and thank you, Anjii, for your experiences and for your knowing and sharing this with us.
You're more than welcome. More than welcome. And you know, Tessa, thanks you all. And you know, this is Tessa's journey, and this is Tessa's meetup tonight. Yeah, thanks, Tessa. And you know, for her it's about so we've set this work up, we're here to do it, and we need people now to trust and learn and come to the farm and work with us. You know, Manuela, you should go and book in some sessions there and do some sessions with the horses, and they will continue to teach you and guide you, and you'll like go from strength to strength. And you know, even more the understanding that you are there as one, you know, it'll just strengthen who you are. And you know, work with Renate and Ernst and
Manuela already. She was one summer. She put up her tent on the field.
Ah, wow!
And was staying there for a couple of days and sleeping there as well. So they were around her tent during nighttime, and
wow,
she knows the horses. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, look, thank you all so much for your time. I feel very blessed that you came and shared this with me and asked such great questions. And you know, I feel all of your energy, and I just I'm really grateful, and just walk tall and be exactly who you are. You know, there's nothing special about it, but there's everything special about who you are in your heart, and that's what makes you a healer. So thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Renate.
Bye-bye,
thank you,
everyone.
Ernst, for all of your work.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.